I wonder who I'm going to get to spend my time with today, because this game really had it all.
It gets to be me!
Yeah, do you think you can take this one for me? You know, we got some tough matchups coming up this weekend in the form of Colorado and Toronto, and so we may need a voice of reason. Can overwhelming optimism take over for this one?
Yeah, I think I can take this one for you. Just take the day off.
So on a rebound from their heartbreaking loss to the Calgary Flames, Golden Knights win at home 5-2 over the Winnipeg Jets. Now, the Golden Knights iced a pretty similar lineup to the collapse, as we can call it, in Calgary, with the only change-up being Paul Cotter is out, Michael Amadio is in, Logan Thompson gets the night off, and Adin Hill gets the start against big save David Rittich. Now, the Vegas Golden Knights don't actually have the greatest record against the Winnipeg Jets recently. I bet you can't bet who was the goalie to pick up the last win against the Winnipeg Jets.
Fleury. Leonard. Oscar Dansk.
Dude, I thought you were taking the day off. Those are all good guesses. None of them happen to be right, as it was Malcolm Subban was the last goalie to pick up a win against the Winnipeg Jets. So the bar is set pretty high, given that the Knights have lost 5 consecutive games to these Jets. And so there's the hope that the Golden Knights would be able to jump on them early and get the game out of reach in the first period, if all possible. And the start that the Golden Knights had was exactly what Coach Bruce Cassidy was hoping for. As pretty early on into the game, it was pretty clear that the Golden Knights were going to maintain the pace of play in this first period. As 4 minutes into the game, Jack Eichel, Phil Kessel, and Riley Smith get in on a 3-on-1, and ultimately Smith to Eichel calls his own number, takes the shot from between the circles, and scores up and over the glove, almost post in, behind big save David Rittich to put the Golden Knights ahead 1-0. Now, this was a really interesting play because this play was essentially a 2-on-1 from the blue line in the forms of Riley Smith and Phil Kessel, until Jack Eichel came flying in from the neutral zone into the middle of the ice to become a third option. Just proof that he's still got some jump, and Phil Kessel has been in the right place at the right time a lot this season. Only problem is he's on a line with Jack Eichel, and Eichel's going to call his number a lot. So while Kessel isn't featuring on the score sheet, he's still a massive plus in terms of his plus minus. So that's all we can really ask for out of a guy who's just starting to adjust, and he's still looked really good in the Golden Knights system. So Eichel's second of the year from Smith and Pietrangelo at 4:23 of the first period. And then a few minutes after that, there was a really, really juicy chance from William Karlsson on a rebound in the offensive zone, and it just happened to jump over his stick. Fortunately, Karlsson wouldn't have to wait very long to be able to capitalize on his next good opportunity, as just a moment later, Michael Amadio came flying down the wing, outmanned 2 Winnipeg Jets players in the corner, got behind the net behind Rittich, kicked it out to Karlsson, who had found a soft spot in the defensive zone structure, and he fires it low and past David Rittich to put the Golden Knights ahead 2-0. Now, this was a textbook second and third line goal, just because it was set up by Amadio outworking the defender, and Marchessault finding Amadio behind the net, ultimately coming from the neutral zone to set up this play, and then just tick slightly longer to attack, and then goal in the form of Karlsson finding Karlsson from Amadio and Marchessault at 6:11. Now, this isn't where the fun ends either, as just 4 minutes later, Chandler Stevenson would pick up arguably the luckiest goal of the Golden Knights season. Now, he scored a goal like this in the preseason, and I'm pretty sure I said something along these exact same lines, where if the defender hadn't been there, this wouldn't have even been a play. As Chandler Stevenson came just skating down the left wing, and he was just kind of throwing a hope pass to the center, whether it be to pick up a streaking Brett Howden, or a late trailer in the form of Mark Stone, or even a defender coming back into the offensive zone rush. He was just trying to get the puck to the middle and see what happened. Unfortunately for Winnipeg, Brendan Dillon just happened to be standing there right off his foot, right into the back of the net through Rittich's 5-hole, and that puts the Golden Knights up 3-0. I guess if you can't be good, be lucky, my buddy Chandler. Either way, it counts as a goal. Stevenson's first of the season from Theodore at 10:07. Now, a little bit after this, the game kind of slowed down. Winnipeg had their first really good chance of the period, and the combination of Adin Hill's glove and a very friendly post kept the game a 3-0 affair, as it was just kind of a defensive breakdown. Adin Hill got most of it, and the post got the rest of it. Unfortunately, this would kind of signal a trend as the Golden Knights would take their first penalty of the game in the form of Aiden Hill. Yeah, Aiden Hill took a tripping penalty, rather, at 14:46. And the best thing that happened for the Golden Knights is that Riley Smith drew a penalty immediately off the faceoff, meaning that the penalty kill and power play for Winnipeg lasted a grand total of about 1 second, as Pierre-Luc Dubois got whistled for tripping at 14:46. So now the game moves to 4-on-4, and 4-on-4 tends to benefit the faster team. Historically speaking, the Winnipeg Jets have been faster than the Golden Knights across all facets of the game. That being said, you still need to have some smart goaltending, some smart breaks, and some good puck luck. As the Golden Knights just clear the puck down the ice, David Riddick goes out to play it, and you guys can say it with me. If you're a goaltender, tend the goal! Not a product plug, but I love this shirt. ShopSportsNet.store. That's right. David Riddick takes the puck, decides to call his own number on the clearing attempt, feeds it up the middle, right onto the tape of Jack Eichel, who takes it, corrals it, and all in one swift motion, fires it over the glove, post in and out the net before I can even blink, to put the Golden Knights ahead 4-0. So talk about jumping on your opponent. 1 goal is good. 2 goals is great. 3 goals is exceptional. But 4 goals in the opening period to a team that you haven't beat in almost 2 or 3 whole calendar years, that's a pretty good start. That being said, the 4-on-4 wouldn't really yield much more action after the goal. The Jets kind of tightened up a bit. And then the Golden Knights got to go onto their second power play for the second of their power play in the form of a Cole Perfetti goal interference penalty at 17:22. First wave of the power play wasn't very great, and somehow the second wave of the power play was objectively worse. That being said, it's 4-0. You don't really need to push for another goal, especially in the first period. In the eternal words of Doc Emmerich, when a team goes up by 3 at home, the game essentially ends. And so the Golden Knights were up by 4. The convention is that the Winnipeg Jets aren't going to come back and make this one a contest, so there's no need to keep piling it on, just whether it be for the sake of respect or just the fact that you don't need to, and at this point you're just getting players on the ice, and that's kind of how this power play looked for the Golden Knights. That being said, that was kind of the last event of the first period. That's got to be one of the best periods the Golden Knights have played this season. 4 really good goals from 3 really key players in the forms of William Karlsson, Chandler Stevenson, and the 2 from Jack Eichel. We were outshooting the Winnipeg Jets 13-7. We were only 43% from the faceoff dot, which has got to be one of the lower figures for first periods in the season. We were out hit 12-4, and we had 3 blocks in the period. It's really good to see Eichel light the lamp twice in one period, especially because this is going to be a big season for him if all things goes according to plan. And William Karlsson getting his goal is another really good start, as he's one of those players that we're going to be looking to perform throughout the course of this regular season. So him getting going early, as he's had a really good start to the season, first 5 games, it's just going to continue to build and hopefully snowball into a really good season for the veteran forward. That being said, the game still has 40 minutes to go, so the Golden Knights really do need to buckle down, as they did blow a 2-0 lead to the Calgary Flames just 2 nights ago. It wouldn't hurt to make sure to put this one out of reach. And the Winnipeg Jets tried to give us the opportunity to put it out of reach, as Blake Wheeler took a tripping penalty at 4:23. Yes, that's the exact same time of Eichel's goal in the first period. Let's not read into the coincidence. Winnipeg definitely had the best chance on the Golden Knights power play, which is kind of sad. It was a 2-on-1 that resulted in a decent opportunity for the Jets and ultimately a pretty good save by Aiden Hill. First wave had a shot or 2, but none of them were really high chance. The second wave looked really, really good as well. A lot more zone time. As has been so often the case, this second wave is lethal, and they just haven't really been able to put up the goals yet. There were 3 total shots in the power play across both waves. So it wasn't a wasted power play per se, but it wasn't, a goal. It didn't make the game 5-0. So there was still at least something, and it kind of gave the Jets a little bit of momentum. Unfortunately, the Jets were definitely able to capitalize off of it, as there was just a weird play. Neil Pionk is coming down the right wing, just fires a long shot on net, and I don't know what happened, but it hit Aiden Hill in a weird spot, kicked diagonally across the ice, and if anybody had been there, this isn't a goal, but it just so happened that Pierre-Luc Dubois was just standing right on the off wing and was able to corral the rebound basically out of the air and fired through the legs of Aiden Hill to put the Winnipeg Jets on the board and make the score 4-1. I guess if you're Aiden Hill, if you can't have any luck, you're just going to have bad luck. Because this was just an unfortunate break. Sure, it was rough rebound control, but it was just tough luck that it happened to hit Pierre-Luc Dubois. They're arguably Winnipeg's best player at the moment. It just happened to hit him right on the tape for his first goal of the year, assisted by Pionk at 7:26. This kind of was the preamble to a very sloppy period by the Golden Knights. They were pretty meh from 6 minutes in to about 5 minutes to go. So there was a solid 11 minutes where the Golden Knights really couldn't do a lot right. The best opportunity that the Knights had was a curl and drag from, of all players, Keegan Colasar, winning a sort of one-on-one battle at the blue line, and a good curl and drag move, fired it low off of Riddick, who just happened to get a piece of it. That was the Golden Knights' first shot in 7 minutes. Now, I love the Fortress as much as the next. It's arguably my favorite spot to see hockey games. The fans are amazing. That being said, I saw something in this game while watching it that I have never in my life seen. The Medieval Maniacs inside the Fortress started doing the wave with 2 minutes and 30 seconds to go in the second period. And as crazy as that sounds, as much as that's kind of taunting your opponent, it happened to coincide with the Golden Knights' best offensive push of the entire period. It was one of those moments where I'm like, are they doing the wave? Yeah, they're doing the wave. And it, lined up with the good offense, and the Golden Knights were able to mount a push, of which not much happened because the game kind of spread out. And ultimately it brought us to the end of the period. But it was just one of those moments where, you have to chuckle. Only in a 4-1 hockey game at home does something like that happen. That being said, the Golden Knights were not the better team in the second period when it came to an end. Regardless of what the stats say, it was just a very sloppy, unorganized, mismanaged, kind of just shaky period, very similar to the second period against the Calgary Flames, just minus the 6 penalties. There were a couple of missed calls that the Fortress weren't overly happy about, especially one in the neutral zone. We were still leading in shots, 23-19 and 10-9 in the period. We were 50% from the dot. We were being out-hit 26-15 at that point, so 14-11 in that period. So the stats were still kind of favoring the Golden Knights, aside from the physicality. But it just was kind of a messy period all in all, and hopefully they'll be able to clean up their act going into the third period. And the third period started incredibly slow. There was basically nothing going on one way or the other for the first solid 8 minutes of the period. This is really when the missed calls kind of kicked off, as there was definitely a missed trip in the neutral zone around the 10-minute mark. There was definitely the game kind of opened up in the physicality sense, and the Jets were getting away with some hacking and whacking and some cross checks and some trips that they probably shouldn't have. But again, it's 4-1. You can't really complain. That was until it wasn't 4-1 anymore, as Neil Pionk was able to finally cut the Golden Knights lead in half and make the game 4-2. This followed a potential missed trip in the neutral zone that took out one of the Golden Knights players. And it was just one of those moments where we got a lucky goal in the first period off the skate of Brendan Dillon, and the Winnipeg Jets take advantage of a puck off the skate of their own defender in the form of Neil Pionk. And, there's nothing really you can do. It was just one of those moments where it could have been a kick, but again, it's just one of those goals that you're just going to happen to give up. I feel bad for Aiden Hill because he was pitching a pretty good game at this point. And so taking a puck off the skate is just kind of an unfortunate way to kind of get the third period rolling. So Pionk's third of the year from Morrissey and Lowry at 10:34 was really kind of like a turning point in the game, because it was like at that point the Golden Knights realized, we might want to start playing. As pretty shortly after, Brett Howden had the Golden Knights' best chance of the period so far in front of the net on a good feed from Mark Stone. He just, right guy, he just didn't quite elevate the puck enough to get over Riddick's shoulder as he came out to charge the play and cut down the angle. There was a really good chance for Mark Scheifele off a bouncing puck, and of course Aiden Hill was there, stand tall, made the save, made it look easy. So the Winnipeg Jets, down 2 at this point, pull the goalie with about 3 minutes 55 to go. And then calamity ensues as Eichel takes the puck in the neutral zone off of a really good spin feed from Riley Smith, ranging towards the empty net at the blue line, shot, and he misses it wide right. So he does not complete the hat trick on this occasion. Even Aiden Hill decided to say, you know what, we're up by 2. I'm going to call my own number, take a crack at this empty net thing, since nobody else can seem to score one right now. Takes the puck from behind the net, goes to loft it, and just doesn't quite get out of the zone. He's a good puck handler, and if that gets up another few inches, we might have had the first goalie goal in Golden Knights history. That being said, it's not what happened. Play stopped. Winnipeg calls a timeout with 1 minute and 1 second to go. And then finally, Jonathan Marchessault puts everybody's nerves at ease, pots the empty net goal, and puts the Golden Knights ahead 5-2. Somehow, despite Winnipeg having the extra attacker, it was a 2-on-0. Jonathan Marchessault and William Karlsson got behind it. And what made this situation even funnier is Jonathan Marchessault has the puck going down the middle of the ice. His head is facing back into the neutral zone, waiting to see if Eichel was going to catch up so that we could feed him to get a hat trick goal. Now, the Golden Knights were the only team in the NHL last year to not have a hat trick, so it would have been nice to get this one out of the way early, especially because Eichel is a great player, and, getting him off to a better scoring start is never going to hurt us in the long run. That being said, Marchessault puts it home 5-2, bingo, bango, bongo. Jonathan Marchessault's 4th goal of the season from Karlsson at 1938. And so with that empty net game was over as the Golden Knights wrap it up 5-2. So when looking at this game as a whole, kind of in retrospect, this was another really good start for the Golden Knights. And unlike the game against the Calgary Flames, we were able to put the game out of reach by getting that 3rd, 4th, and ultimately 5th goal with the goalie out. We outshot Winnipeg 32-28. We were 50-50 from the dot. We got out hit 38-23. We had 10 blocks, and we were 0-for-3 on the power play. Eichel had himself a game tonight getting those 2 goals, and he really had himself a first period. He was definitely an impact player after being somewhat invisible in the back half of the game against Calgary. So it's nice to see him get back to his old ways, get him back to his scoring form, and hopefully this 2-goal outpouring will be able to spur him to continued offensive productivity throughout the rest of this early season. William Carrier recorded his 900th hit as a member of the Golden Knights last night. As a former member of the Bash Brothers in the form of Reeves and Carrier, it does not surprise me that he's got as many hits as he does. And hopefully he'll be able to hit 1,000 hits with the Golden Knights by, November. That would be fun, because he's been a physical force to be reckoned with. The only criticism that I have on the Golden Knights' performance, because it's really hard to critique a 5-2 win, is that the Golden Knights need to be more careful letting blowouts get close by taking their foot off the gas. This kind of happened in the 3rd period against Seattle 2 games ago, where we were up 5-0, and then we ultimately allowed 2 in the 3rd period, and neither of those 2 goals looked very good. And then it happened again here. We were up 4-0, and then ultimately it got to 4-2, and so they were really 1 shot away from making it a game with the goalie out. And with the memory of the San Jose Sharks at the end of last season fresh in our head, when it was also a 4-2 game that we let get out of hand, you just got to be sure to shut down the game when you have the opportunity to. And then obviously with coming off of a blown 2-0 lead against the Calgary Flames, you always got to be wary of those shutdown moments. I know it's early in the season, and I know there's not a lot of defensive chemistry yet, but these points are important. And, obviously taking 8 out of a maximum 10 points at this point in the season is a good spot for the Knights to be. There's always room to be critical, as when we get later on in the season and hopefully into the playoffs, these situations will become critical. When you go up by 2 in a playoff game, you want to make sure that it stays at 2, and the only way to do that is to practice it during the regular season. That being said, it was a good win for the Golden Knights, 5-2. Next up on the schedule is Colorado Avalanche. That's going to be a potential Western Conference final preview. I remember in my preseason schedule breakdown, this was one of the games that I highlighted early. This weekend as a whole is going to be a tough one for the Golden Knights, with the Colorado Avalanche and then the Toronto Maple Leafs pretty close together, basically back-to-back on the schedule. So this really is going to be where we test the mettle. Obviously, getting 2 wins would be ideal, but 1 win is also acceptable. So it'll be exciting to see what the Golden Knights have for us this weekend. That being said, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it, subscribe if you want more of it, and I will catch you guys in the next one.